This is primarily to, I try to do this every quarter, bring to the attention of the committee and the court, the operations of the landfill. We're through the first 3 quarters. You have before you a spreadsheet, and I know this is a ton of numbers, but I do it, and I always share it with the judge. I met with him last week. The main things that we want to touch on, you can see, I tried to circle the important numbers. Our revenue for the year through the first 9 months, 2.475, right at 2.5 million. I will comment about September. It was a terrible month as far as cash flow. We had a pretty good month in August. September last year was a big month. This year our cash flow was very low, it was only a little over $200,000. That has to do, I looked at the charges were pretty well in line with last year, but our payments, we're just having a problem. It's an up and down process as far as payments. We have some people that normally pay every month that did not pay.
Accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable.
Them paying us.
That's correct. We have about right at between $375,000, $400,000 that normally would be coming in. Now, we have some old ones that have been there forever, but what I call active, that's outstanding right now on accounts receivable. And then looking on down, going back to the spreadsheet, everything is pretty well itemized. We're pretty well within budget. There's a few items that have ticked over a little bit. Some others are way under, but our expenses through the first 9 months, $1,549,846. And as far as the operations part, that equates to about 65% of the budget. I pulled out the investment part, the capital budget, pull that out. And you can see our operating margins to date. And then, to me, one of the most important thing I want to bring out, if you look down on the very bottom of the second page, our funds available at the end of September, $1,908,157.44. We have a balance left to be paid on the cell construction of $1,180,183.97. So there's about a $700,000 gap there, which is great, and we hope it grows. Main thing is, barring anything unforeseen in this day and time, who knows, we should have ample money to take care of the construction project. And I hope, and the judge and I both pretty much agreed on that, we'd like to have at least $500,000 that we can set aside and try to do that every year. So next time there's another sale to open, we'll have some funds set aside for it. So everything holds, and we think we should be able to do that. But we do have the money to pay. In fact, there's another 140-something thousand, I think, payment that has been made this month. I think, Peggy, I saw the other day something you sent me to persons again. They're slowed down a little bit. The slowdown seemed to be, of course, they got off to a terrible start weather-wise, and now they've been kind of hung up with the leachate collection people. They're using the subcontractor, who is the same person who has done all the leachate collection equipment and everything out of, I think they're out of Houston. Small company, but they're very good. And it's a matter of timing with them, because they're not a big company where they have a lot of multiple crews they can send out. So that has slowed them down a little bit. And of course now we're about to get into the rainy season again. So I was hoping they'd be finished by November, but I don't know. I hadn't been there in a couple of weeks, and they were still working on class 4, because you don't have the leachate over there, and so they're pretty well getting it pretty well wound up, I think. But until you get that leachate collection in the very bottom and get the membrane in, can't go much. It's just an important part of it has to be done. So, any questions in regard to the,
Justice Burge, you said 375 to 400,000 is out there that's uncollected or not paid,
it's just slow.
just slow. I know at one point in time there were several cities or some cities that, are they caught up, or do you know?
They're caught up. In fact, there was a real mix-up in regard to the city of Osceola. They had been cutting a check every month and mailing it. Unfortunately, it had the wrong address on it. So their checks was not getting to the finance office, so we couldn't credit them. And so it appeared on our books that they were behind. So about a month ago, they started getting some checks back in the mail. And they hand-walked them up and deposited them and caught them up. And I know Mayor Wilson was a little upset about it. But hopefully that has all been corrected. I have reached out to her, and I've assured her that in the future, if there is a problem, I will be calling her in advance. Her counsel was questioning her, and their book showed that the check had been cut. But then when the check started coming back, it all got resolved. Hopefully that's all taken care of. There's no cities on it. There's a couple of things. The judge, I talked with the judge, and we made a list, and he is contacting some of the larger ones. For example, I don't mind mentioning, I think this is the same group. The folks that were doing the work out on the corner of 61 and Main Street, that environmental group, they ran up over $100,000 bill in 2 months. We hadn't had a check yet, so we're contacting them. We think that's good. They were doing work for the highway department. And 3 or 4 others that just slow about coming in. But we are going to be dogging them. We've got to get that money in by the end of the year. And we're going to be dogging them. The judge has a list, and he's going to be making some contacts.
I never did get a court order to remove, some of that older money that we're not going to collect.
I did talk with him about that too. I've got it on my notes, Peggy.
And I gave it to him also.
He did tell me that. What Peggy is talking about is there's some old account, it's been on there way before I came into this position, like Nice Disposal and people like that, and a lot of small ones that have not been paid, and they haven't made a payment. They've evidently, they're gone. Some of them are deceased. Some of them they're just not going to pay. And Peggy, I talked with Peggy about a month ago, and she talked with the auditors about getting those off the book. They just sit there. And the auditors indicated that it takes, I believe, a court order from the judge. And we discussed that last Friday when I was there. And he indicated that you had talked with him and that he will be getting that together. It's just a cleaning up process. Going to take some out of our accounts receivable, but it's uncollectible anyway. So that will be cleared from the from the ledger. As far as the budget, we had talked about that a little bit. Kelly is going to be slugging in. I've been working on it some at home, and Kelly's going to be slugging in the salaries, insurance, Social Security, and all those things that she has to calculate. And then I'll be back with her, and we should have, barring anything unforeseen, we should have the landfill budget ready by next Monday for the Finance Committee to consider. So, David? Come in.
Too early or too late? Or?
No, come right in.
A little early for what you want, but come on in and join us.
This is the landfill committee, but it's going to be short. And then we'll be in the finance committee.
I'll just sit and listen.
And I did raise the question with the judge in regard to the dumpsters at the court.
The roll-offs?
The roll-offs. And he indicated that had pretty well run its course. and that all of that would be done, finished, completed by the end of the year. There was 2 charges in, you probably saw the printout, there was 2 this month. I think there's, Leachville is gonna do a day. The city of Osceola chose to pay for their own, and so it's pretty well winding down.
There's
And
two $95 charges is in
Right.
September. There
I
were
did
3
ask
in
him-
August.
I asked him to assure me that this was gonna be a dead issue by the end of the year, and I received that assurance.
So we still have dumpsters out there?
We still have dumpsters out there. There's 2 or 3 in Blyville. I think there's one at Dale now. Leachville is gonna do a day, and I think they're gonna do some dumpsters over there. And I don't know the location of any others.
I thought we pretty much decided that was illegal.
Well, the opinion of the quorum court at the last meeting was, and I think the court made their position quite clear, that we thought that it was a problem and this and that, but I don't believe anything has changed.
Our attorney said it was illegal.
Well, that's what my understanding was.
Jeremy Thomas.
Yes, that was my understanding.
Well,
Do we track, and I know that we're tracking the expense of the dumpsters, but do we track how much,
Revenues are lost.
there you go, yes, that's exactly my question.
We're tracking the expenses and how much it's costing us to transfer the trash, but nobody has bothered to calculate the revenue losses that we're experiencing.
Right, because, well, you still weigh them even if they're a 0 ticket, is
I
that
have no
right?
idea. Kelly, do you know? Do they weigh those roll-offs?
yes, I asked about that. Yes, they are weighed.
They are weighed?
They're 0 tickets.
So they are creating 0 tickets?
Well, yes.
Is that not going to create a legal issue there?
I would assume if it was pressed, I assume it would be.
Kelly, you have any idea how much? I mean, I know that's I don't even know why I'm asking.
It would just be tonnage. I mean, I don't know it depends on what's in those dumpsters, how heavy they are, because we charge people by tonnage, is that not right, Justice Burge?
We charge by tonnage.
So it depends on what's being put in those dumpsters, we don't know.
There's no way of knowing.
I mean, it's concrete, it's a lot of money.
There was 5 0 cash tickets to Waste Pro for the month of September. And I assume that was dumpsters.
You could find out what an average dumpster normally, what revenue that an average.
Well, no, but
roll-off-
what Kelly's saying is they weigh them. So you know how much and I would assume that you have to kind of know what's in them so you know where to put them, right?
Right, on the ticket, it'll have a tonnage weight, and then it'll have the material that they're charging it under, whether it be class 4, which is one price, or class 4, or whatever, class 1 and 4 are 2 different prices, so you can just, even though the ticket's 0, you can still have the weight that you can use to figure out the revenue, or how much that ticket would have normally cost.
So you could let us know what we're losing in revenue, then couldn't you pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, it's something you can figure out, yeah.
I'd sure appreciate if you'd email us what we're, that amount.
Well, and I think, I certainly do not want to give the impression that I'm not, 100% about cleaning up the county, helping the cities clean themselves up. But I do think it's important to have a plan as to, how we're going to go about doing that. And if we're not tracking that at all, then it seems like,
The city can, like Osceola can pay for a dumpster for city cleanup. And I think we could pay for one for county cleanup, but I don't know, I think these are being privately used, is my understanding.
Well, my understanding of the thing was, I think this all started, one of the Bible, I'm quoting what I read in the newspaper, which is very accurate.
yeah, I read it, yeah.
A Blyville city councilman approached the judge about some extra dumping and things that was going on in his ward and so forth. And the judge agreed, I think, and met with him, my understanding was, and they looked, and the judge agreed to put some dumpsters there to help them out, to try to stop that. it's still a problem. I notice the city council is dealing with it. At the same time, I think the judge, in fact, he told me that he made it available to all the cities in the county, in lieu of the spring cleanup and in lieu of the fall cleanup. And he felt like that was something that the county could do. I think we all agreed it probably wouldn't have been exactly the way we would have done it, but that's how we got in the position we're in now.
Well, I'm not gonna quote it, I talked to somebody in Blytheville, somebody pretty high up, and he told me the dumpsters were being placed in front of houses that individuals were tearing down, and they were putting those houses in those dumpsters were being hauled to our landfill. And I said, well, why don't the city of Blytheville do that? He said, we can't do that legally. I said, well, the county can't either, not for private use.
I don't know where they are, but I'm sure that's,
I mean, I'm like Justice Jackson. I mean, I'm all in favor of, cleaning up this county and making it more presentable and not putting trash, in our ditches or where it shouldn't be. But it's just.
Well, and so I think the problem is, so if you have stuff that you want to get rid of, they come, and I think in the city of Blytheville, you get 2 clawfuls for free. Like they'll pick, 2, and then anything over that, they charge you. They just send you, or they tack it onto your bill somehow. I don't know really how they track that. So what people will do is, if they've got a lot of extra stuff, they'll just go put it somewhere else. which I understand is a big problem, no doubt about it. However, I would like
That's a
for
city problem.
Well, yes, it's 100% a city problem, but I would like for there just to, personally, I'd like for there to be a plan. If we're going to give X number, we're giving the cities a discount. So, do we have any idea how much that, we don't know really how much that discount's cost us. We don't really know how much the dumpsters have cost us. It could be close to, I bet you it's more than we think it is.
probably.
Well, you made a good suggestion. We don't put those dumpsters out there. And that was where I thought we were going with that, and I thought everybody understood that it was not legal.
I assumed after the meeting, when everyone had voiced their opinion, and it was very clear, it was a consensus, that perhaps it would be ended, but evidently it has not. And the plans are, under what I was told, it's winding down, but there may be some dumpsters out to the end of the year. And let's, might as well lay it out on the table. The only thing left is it would require some kind of legal action on the part of the court. I don't know anything else that would do.
The auditors could initiate some of that if they take offense this next season.
Well, that's, the problem is, you don't get audited for another year or two,
It's after the fact. That's actually the way that all the issues with a previous county judge came about, was the auditors initiated all the legal transaction, and it was the auditors that got the state police and the FBI involved. And so whether we do anything or not, it could still come to be, because any variance from an ordinance is breaking the law based on what our county attorney, Jeremy Thomas, told us the other day, and giving away services that we charge fees for is an effective theft of services. Any way you look at it, it's a theft of services. If you're giving something of value away for free in violation of express ordinances.
Correct.
Well, and if we don't have any kind of amendment to that ordinance, I don't understand how you can even say it's going to stop at the end of the year. How do you turn that off? I need one in Walker Park.
Well,
that's where my district is, and I would like one. I'm not trying. I'm just simply saying. I drive over there. I'm over there quite a bit. I'm sure how do you say no? They don't get one.
well,
Because
I
there is no
assume it will
claimant.
end the same way it started. I think it will end with the judge's office saying that's the end of the dumpsters, because that's how it started. So I assume that's the way it will end.
Yes, Kelly, I would, if you don't have anything to do this week.
Don't worry about budget.
I've already called her once this week.
I would love to see a tally on the zero tickets. And is there any rhyme to reason do you just call and get one?
I have no idea. I would assume you would just call and,
Who do you call? You or the judge?
not me, because I have no control over them. That's a judge's project. That's something that he took on himself to,
Well, again, I think
that was a
it's
good
a
thing.
great idea to clean the county up. They can't be used for private use. I mean, that's where my concern is. And do you know where these dumpsters are, Kelly? Do you know where they are, Justice Burge?
the only thing I know is what's on the printout.
There are, when we receive a bill from Waste Pro, there are sometimes addresses on there, so that's.
But they could be gone by the time we receive the bill.
Yes.
That's correct.
I mean, so your general public don't even know where they are for the most part.
There's
Unless they
been no
drive by and see
publicity
them.
on it that I'm aware of.
No, I think you said that we're not necessarily advertising that they're available. I mean, but from what I understand, you don't really have to advertise, they just fill them up.
Yeah.
Which, anyway, but, yeah.
Well, I know people went looking for them and couldn't find them.
Have you looked for them, Justice Jackson?
Not lately I haven't. I did in the beginning only because I wanted to use them. So, I was taking about, I was, well, that's what got me curious about them because I wanted to take advantage of the cleanup. So now I've just thrown them out. No, I'm just kidding. I've just put it out. It just seems like it's a little haphazard out there, so.
I think we all agree on that.
How's our equipment condition at the landfill? Anything that we're anticipating in CapEx?
The only thing that was mentioned a month ago, when I was meeting with the judge, James Roundtree, who is the everyday operations man at the landfill, and he was there at the first part of the meeting, and he indicated that we were going to need another dozer. But the judge did not mention it when I met with him Friday. You have to be real careful because you can get over equipment kind of sometime. I'm not convinced myself. I'm not there every day, but I'm not convinced myself that that's a real need because we're going to be closing. The emphasis was we need another dozer for the new Class 4. Well, there is a dozer already over at the old Class 4, so I don't know that we're going to need another dozer.
A guy can only sit in one seat at a time.
You can only sit in one seat at a time. So,
Good point.
as far as I know, our equipment, the three pieces that are leased, two of them I think have been renewed this year. There's one more that will probably be coming up early spring maybe. Am I about right, Kelly?
You probably are, I just can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah. And see, when we go into, James also, let me say another thing in James's, the point he was making too, and there is some validity to that. When we go into the new Class 1 sale, until you make I think it's a 6-foot layer across there, you can't use the compactor because if you do, you risk puncturing the membrane. So you have to we're going to have to cover that 8 acres before we can start using the compactor. And he said, right now, you're running the compactor and a push dozer up there. And he's saying, well, the other dozer, we're going to need one to help with that. So there is some validity to the argument. However, we have an old D6 down there that's been rebuilt 2 or 3 years ago. That's the old workhorse, and it's there. It's operational as far as I know. So anyway, that discussion I guess be held. The judge has not asked for. He asked me to do the budget. He has not mentioned wanting to include any sort of a major expenditure on equipment in it. So
or the newer dozers, the cab and air,
Oh, yeah.
older dozer cab and air, the D6?
I'm not sure. It's a mechanical rather than electronic. I don't think it is. James likes it because you can put about anybody on it. It doesn't have all electronic.
Right.
It's an old mechanical and it's a workhorse. And we rebuilt it about 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, it'll be good for a while. I mean, there's, the cab and air is probably the issue.
Yeah, I expect it is. Is there anything else landfill wise?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good report.
And hopefully, we can get some, I'm hoping for a good month, this month on the cash flow because, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 3 pay periods in this month.
There is in December.
Is there?
I think that's our next one.
And we also have the third quarter ADEQ dues, which will be paid probably in October. That's usually about 60,000. So we're gonna have quite a few bills this month, but I hope we have some good cash flow coming in because that will really help us out. Anyone else have anything? If not, well, I'll turn it over to Justice White and the finance.
You got 2 minutes. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Go for it, I'll be behind you.